All right, welcome to How Healing Works, and this is this Statement of God episode, and the Statement of God is in fact the expression or the judgment of God about His Son, which is, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." Now that is a familiar expression. But today we're actually going to take a look at it from a little different angle, and that is, we look at it from a perspective of chapter 7 of A Course in Miracles, which is really like right teaching, right learning. And that makes it so specific in terms of how do you accept this for yourself? How do you accept that you're His beloved Son? Like, you can know it conceptually, but that doesn't mean that you have accepted it as your reality. So there's a lot of, you can say, a lot of resistance or ignorance or not knowing that that is the case and how to receive that. Because basically your human existence is quite different, like completely different. It is a whole different nature. And there's no overlap. So how do you, on earth do you deal with that? I'm not saying that I say, okay, now you have to deal like that. I'm not going to give you instructions in how to take this as a human being. So that's why I immediately want to start. Like, it's interesting to know that A Course in Miracles and what Master Teacher is teaching, just as what I teach, of course, is like, this cannot be learned in a human way. I'm sorry. So in other words, you have to learn a new way of learning first before you can make progress. You have to learn this in a whole different way. You cannot learn this in your human ways by learning the sentences, by repeating the affirmations, or by using the right prayer to pray or something. Like, that's not it. So that's already a big shake-up, because I know there are many who try to learn, so to speak, learn A Course in Miracles by doing it in a human way, which is counterproductive. Like, it's not going to work that way. It simply doesn't work that way. So you can do that for a very long time and think that you're really doing something, but it is actually not what A Course in Miracles is. A Course in Miracles is A Course in Miracles. Now, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, who is actually giving this to us as a reminder of, hey, the will of God is accepted. I did that for you. And that was not a sacrifice, that was not terrible, I didn't have to hang on the cross for it. I didn't have to do anything for it but accepting the will of God as my will. I did that totally. And in that you accepted it totally too, since we are one in the sonship, we are one. Now, Jesus brings us to a new way of learning. And that is, it says it right in the beginning of the workbook too. It's like, transfer of training does not proceed as does transfer of training in the world. So it's like, if you have seen one thing truly, you have seen all things truly. If you accept that Jesus accepted, as one of us, accepted the will of God totally, you recognize that you have done the same thing. That's like, you see that it is based on vision. It's based on oneness. It happened to one, it happened to all. There's no separation. This is one occurrence, and it did take place, and you're home in heaven. Now here's the other thing then. It says it immediately in the workbook too. One exception, held apart from true perception, makes its accomplishment anywhere impossible. Now that part, in combination with the first part, is what we're taking a look at today. And in chapter 7, there's sufficient material to work with. But first of all, I want to review three miracle principles that are completely related to receiving the will of God, or to receiving, in fact, the fact of, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. What does Jesus teach? What does he use specifically with the miracles? And this is typically Jesus Christ of Nazareth. What does he say in his Sermon on the Mount? Love your brother as yourself. And God, above all, love your brother as yourself. Love your neighbor. Love your enemy. Love all. Don't make an exception. Love all. And love God with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your soul. So, but what did he do? He introduced the idea of your brother. The recognition that what I give to my brother is a gift to myself. What I withhold from my brother, I withhold from myself. Very fundamental. But herein, in fact, is the miracle occurring. And I say this kind of slowly, don't I? I talk a bit slowly because I want to be very, very clear. And that is really helpful. So Jesus always will bring in your brother, because he says, in fact, if you forget to give to your brother, you have made this one exception of true perception. And you see, true perception is nowhere accomplished. So be aware of that. Don't withhold anything to your brother. When your brother acts insanely, we will see this in a moment. When your brother acts insanely, see this as an opportunity to bless your brother. Because the blessing that you're going to give your crazy brother is the blessing that you need for yourself. You do it, you give it to him, but in that, you receive it yourself, because you recognize you're not separate from your brother, and your brother is not separate from you. Both ways, really important. So the miracle always brings that together. I will share with you the three principles that came to me. And these specifically refer to your relationship with your brother. And yeah, I'll bring them up right here. So in fact, we're talking here about, and that's the title of this meeting, like inestimable value. Like there's no way to recognize the value of what is being shared here, or what is given to you, in the true recognition of how God judges you. And this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. Okay, miracles are natural expressions of total forgiveness. Through miracles, see, a total forgiveness, not a little bit forgiveness, no, total forgiveness. The release of every idea you could possibly hold about anyone. You release it. So miracles are natural expressions of total forgiveness. Through miracles, man accepts God's forgiveness by extending it to others. By extending it to others. The second step, this extending it to others, is inherent in the first, because light cannot tolerate darkness. Light dispels darkness automatically, by definition. Miracles rest on the law and order of eternity, not of time, so they're not time related. A miracle is a service. It is the maximal service that one soul can render another. It is a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. The doer recognizes his own and his neighbor's as inestimable value simultaneously. A miracle is a service. It is the maximum service that one soul can render another. It is a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. The doer recognizes his own and his neighbor's inestimable value. So you recognize your own inestimable value and your neighbor's inestimable value. So there's no sacrifice or comparison. No, you see that it's inestimable, the value. It's not to differentiate. No, it's inestimable. It's like literally infinite value of your brother. Your brother has an inestimable value to you, to God, to the whole universe, just as you have. And in the miracle, you recognize that simultaneously. Now that has an effect on you. If you experience that, you gladden yourself and your brother, like you become happy by this recognition. Wow, I was lost for a moment in judgment, now that is released. I recognize my oneness with my brother. I see his incredible value. I love my brother totally. I forgive him I forgive him completely. Not for anything, but for everything. And I forgive myself. And I use for that God's forgiveness. God is basically bringing back the memory of the total union of my brother in relationship with the totality of creation. At the same time, simultaneously, as one, literally is like, here it is. Now the miracle happens. This is the miracle. It happens right now. It is simultaneous. I recognize your value. I give that to you. As I recognize my own value, as I receive the confirmation of that from outside of time and space, by God, there's light in my mind. All darkness is gone. Any idea of differences, differences, any idea about anything disappears for just that moment. And here I am, recognizing my brother as myself, loving my brother as myself, in the recognition of the love of God, like this Holy Trinity that is here. Now this is what we're talking about. This is what Jesus teaches continuously. He will always confirm exactly this, and that is our practice. That's why this is a course in miracles. That experience needs to be there. That experience will come to you when it occurs, when it opens up. That occurs to you. And it's available to you. Not making any exceptions, and more. There's more to come. So I'm going to share with you first the specific part from Take Up Your Bed and Walk, the statement of God part in the text, where Master Teacher is talking about, setting up establishments like church, politics, commerce, all this, basically as a rejection of the unity that is here. So you'll see. I'm not going to go directly into it now, but we will listen to it. It's 4 minutes, and we will listen to it just as an inspiration to get started here. Take up your bed and walk. The Master Teacher. Statement of God. Jesus is not teaching anything which has not been said before. If I were to use the Pharisaical reference, you have a tendency to think that the Pharisee somehow is the denier of Jesus. In truth, the Pharisee is the deviant. Pharisee means deviant. Did you know that? Pharisees taught reincarnation. Pharisees taught transmigration of the soul directly. This is kind of fun, if you would like to hear it. That's the fact of the matter. So the Pharisees were the deviants, just as the Methodists were deviants. or anyone who admits to the possibility of your own participation in your resurrection, they would be classed somewhere as a deviant. That's a fact because it's outside the temple retrospect. It's outside the determination of the Sanhedrin or the Sadducees or the scribe. Anyone got notebooks in here? You can see that my declaration to you is in the immediacy, and it has nothing to do with the drama you think is going on at all. If you are in your own spatial temporal reference, what possible difference would it make if you're going to have an experience of Jesus Christ? The practice is obviously to have you stay in the attention of that association rather than finding a spatial reference as a solution. I'm going to take one more step here to see if you can hear this. Obviously, each time of you in space-time formulates an establishment that represents your security. All human beings do this. You have built a house, albeit on clay. But you have built a house that justifies your associations with yourself. That is in fact what civilization is. That's why cities are built where you can come together in commerce or participation or worship or whatever you do. You need a spatial reference. The first 3 miracles of Jesus demonstrate your non-need because, first of all, the miracle can occur anywhere in time, and second, it can occur anywhere in space. So here you are as a human being with a home that you must establish as your home. I will tell you it's not your home. I will read you in the course where it says, "This is not your home." This is the Great Lesson 182. Somewhere in you, though you build this home, and though you use it as an establishment of you, it's not where you are from. At the very minimum, you ought to get back to Eden, back inside. You're out east of Eden, in the land of Nod. This is not your home. The establishment of the temple is the security of the laws of man. That's just a fact of the matter, and the case of Judea. And in fact, all original political systems are connected to spiritual purposes. They rapidly digress into the political intent, but they inevitably begin with the admission of a power that's going to give them particular privileges over their enemy. This is the tribal Jehovah. It's the God who speaks incessantly in the Old Testament. God is always giving advice and telling you all sorts of things that you ought to do. Jesus' God doesn't speak at all, except to say, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." Matthew 3:17, Matthew 17:5. That's the total statement of God in the New Testament. See, so that's the introduction then. So the introduction to something very specific. It's like the Old Testament God was continuously directing, it was angry, it was doing all kinds of things. And giving advice about you should do this, you should do that, and trust me in this, and trust me in that. And here Master Teacher says, like in the New Testament, the God of Jesus was a very quiet God. He never said anything. But the only statement that he ever made was, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." Like the fulfillment of what he created. Like that is actually what is being shared then. Now this it brings us to the idea of, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. And since Jesus is teaching in A Course in Miracles, you could say, he's teaching a right teaching, a right learning. Like, how do you learn this? This is what we're interested in. Like, we cannot learn this in a human way. However can we come to an acceptance of the totality of our being? If we do this in a human way, we would be busy for a very, very, very long time, because before every a statement that you would make about yourself or that God would make about you. You would discuss it, you would bring it to others, you come into a dialogue about it and all this. And it would take ages for it to be accepted. So that is not the way that Jesus teaches the miracle. That Jesus teaches, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased, like the acceptance of that for yourself. Now this is advanced spiritual teaching that we're entering into. And I never heard it this way in chapter 7, but it's very specific and very beautiful to let that come to you. It was so inspiring to me to read it that I had like, okay, I'm gonna make something here where I can slowly read it and where you can really let it come to you to receive what is actually being shared, because you have to hear it as a whole in order to really let it come to you. So I'm going to invite you to quiet down, to decide that you really want to hear this. That is about 10 minutes. And it is very beautiful, very inspiring, brings so much clarity. And you want to hear this many times, because you can't receive it right away. Probably. If you can, wonderful. But if you repeat it again, it's like, oh yeah, so good to be reminded of. So this is a very specific part. In fact, the part where you get the instruction in how to receive everything that God is giving you. This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. How am I supposed to accept that? Now here, like I said, Jesus is teaching, so the right way of learning this will be through your brother. And that is so lovely if you hear that. That is so lovely. Who would have known? I only thought I had to accept it for myself and it would be okay, it would be fine. No, you learn this through your brother. Your brother here is essential. He's going to save you from yourself. You don't have to accept this for yourself in a way that your brother has nothing to do with it. No, I thought so too, but that is not that way. So here is your brother. You learn it through your brother, through all his behavior, through all his presence. It gives you opportunities to recognize. Well, I hope you love this. So I hope you can take time, or basically I'm inviting you to take time to really sink into this, because of the gifts, in fact, and the instruction, the guidance that you receive in this specific 10 minutes. Whenever you deny a blessing to a brother, you will feel deprived. This is because denial is as total as love. It is as impossible to deny part of the sonship as it is to love in part. Nor is it possible to love it totally at times. You cannot be totally committed sometimes. Remember a very early lesson. Never underestimate the power of denial. It has no power in itself, but you can give it the power of your mind, whose power it is without any limit of any kind. If you use it to deny reality, reality is gone for you. Reality cannot be partially accepted. That is why denying any part of it means you have lost awareness of all of it. When a brother acts insanely, he is offering you an opportunity to bless him. His need is yours. you need the blessing you can offer him. There's no way for you to have it except by giving it. This is the law of God. It has no exceptions. What you deny, you lack, not because it is lacking, but because you have denied it in another, and therefore are not aware of it in you. Every response you make is determined by what you think you are, and what you want to be is what you think you are. Therefore, what you want to be determines every response you make. You do not need God's blessing because that you have forever, but you do need yours. The picture you see of yourself is deprived, unloving, and very vulnerable. You cannot love this, but you can very easily escape from it, or better, leave it behind. You are not there, and that is not you. Do not see this picture in anyone, or you have accepted it as you. All illusions about the sonship are dispelled together, as they were made together. Teach no one that he is what you do not want to be. Your brother is the mirror in which you will see the image of yourself as long as perception lasts. And perception will last until the sonship knows itself as whole. The gift of life is yours to give, because it was given you. You are unaware of your gift because you do not give it. You cannot make nothing live because it cannot be enlivened. Therefore, you have not extended the gift you both have and are, and so you do not know your being. All confusion comes from not extending life, because this is not the will of your Creator. You can do nothing apart from Him, and you do nothing apart from Him. Keep His way to remember yourselves, and teach His ways, lest you forget yourself. Give only honor to the sons of the living God, and count yourself among them gladly. One child of God is the only teacher sufficiently worthy to teach another. One teacher is in all your minds, and he teaches the same lesson to all. He always teaches you the inestimable worth of every son of God, teaching it with infinite patience, born of the love of Him for whom He speaks. Every attack is a call for His patience, because only His patience can translate attack into blessing. Those who attack do not know they are blessed. They attack because they believe they are deprived. Give, therefore, of your abundance, and teach them theirs. Do not share their delusions of scarcity, or you will perceive yourself as lacking. You are the will of God. Do not accept anything else as your will, or you are denying what you are. Deny this and you will attack, because you believe you have been attacked. But see the love of God in you, and you will see it everywhere, because it is everywhere. See His abundance in everyone, and you will know that you are in Him with them. They are part of you as you are part of God. You are as lonely without understanding this as God Himself is lonely when His sons do not know Him. The peace of God is understanding this. There's only one way out of the world's thinking, just as there was only one way into it. Understand totally by understanding totality. Perceive any part of the ego's thought system as wholly insane, wholly delusional, and wholly undesirable, and you have correctly evaluated all of it. This correction enables you to perceive any part of creation as wholly real, wholly perfect, and wholly desirable. Wanting this only, you will have this only, and giving this only, you will be only this. The gifts you offer to the ego are always experienced as sacrifices, but the gifts you offer to the kingdom are gifts to you. They will always be treasured by God because they belong to His beloved sons, who belong to Him. All power and glory are yours, because the kingdom is His. So, coming back out of this, it's like, yeah, here's the great learning happening. Huh? So this is the way to learn it. So your brother is of inestimable value to you in your recognition of your inestimable value to God, in fact, to everyone. So that has everything to do with it. But then, not the way that you see yourself now. Not the way that you trust your perception in that. Not the judgments that you hold upon yourself. That has nothing to do with it. So you see, we are completely depending on the miracle here. It cannot come from learning as the world knows. So that makes it experiential. You could say, I can talk about it, but in fact it is about you receiving that for yourself. In you receiving that, by giving it away, it can come to you. Now, there's nothing to understand about that. There's just, in fact, a matter of, now you know this. Now this came to you. It's not that you understand it, but you have heard it now. That does something with you, and that's the part that you have to let happen to you. It's like you cannot do so much in that. You see more and more of this realized in your experience if you stay with it. If you stay in your patience with whoever comes your way, in whatever the response to of your brother is to you. In fact, this continues really beautiful with the teaching that we had on Sunday with Joel Goldsmith. Like, the first thing that happens with healing is reaction. How are you responding to what you see? Do you recognize that staying in a state of patience, humility, instead of defense, is your way to, say, extend the healing, your healing to your brother? Your recognition, your healing to yourself, your recognition that you and your brother are one, no matter how he behaves. He can behave insanely, even then. Like, there's no exception. So how are you responding to whoever is coming to you, in whatever way he or she is coming to you? Patience will do it. Here, things fall into place. In fact, you let the whole world collapse right in front of you. Now it can be changed. Now you don't respond in the human way of attack, of an eye for an eye, of justifying, responding, to defend, or whatever it is. Here you have it. Now you're free of that response that opens everything up for you to recognize, to open your eyes, not anyone else's eyes, to open your eyes to see what is actually given, to recognize the inestimable value of your brother in the recognition of God. I always say this together because it happens at the same time. When you estimate your brother's inestimable value, when you are coming into the experience of that, you are recognizing that in yourself at the same time. But this recognition takes place under the forgiveness of God, as it said in what we have heard, under the forgiveness of God, basically under the judgment of God. This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Like in that sense, God joins the party that you already started and that you start to recognize within yourself. But it has nothing to do with the pity idea or image you hold about yourself. So that is the only thing that is released continuously. Like, that cannot be it. What I think about my brother would only establish the same idea about myself. Like, literally, I'm only seeing myself. What I think my brother did to me has not occurred because it was just a reflection of what I was thinking about myself. Now, if I stay in a defenseless mode, not responding at all to the occurrence in itself, staying in my patience, in my humility, in my recognition that something is going to be revealed to me. I don't know what it is, but it has everything to do with the inestimable value of my brother, in the recognition of that for myself too. And I want that. I want to experience that. Now, this is what the healing consciousness is. This is how you heal. Did Jesus attack anyone? No, he did not. Did he stay in his patience? Yes, he did. He demonstrated that. He accepted that. He showed that to you, how to do that. And so does your brother. If you take time to really see that, then you join with him in the recognition of the totality of your being, in the recognition of your love for God and God's love for you, in the recognition that your brother is equal to you, despite all what you think about your brothers. Like, that has nothing to do with it. Now it is to do with this one single moment in which you recognize the totality, the wholeness of the occurrence. When you finally get to that point where you can experience that by being patient, you rest, you let that happen. You let that happen in your awareness that there's more to this than what the eye can see. So that is the miracle that is happening here. That is the service you render to one another. It's like, that's the highest service you can render to one another, to allow the miracle to occur. Now here you see in the text too that I read to you, you see that you have not given life to your brother, or you have not given life in general. You have held on to an idea about yourself. That's what you did, and that idea was wrong, was false. It was nothing. So you haven't really given life. Now, see, there's two ways of creating. It says in the miracle principles too. It's like there are two ways of thinking. The one creates the spiritual, the other creates the physical. So if you start to create spiritual, you literally see that you're thinking with your spiritual mind, that is a real thing. The thoughts that you are thinking then literally are creations, are co-creations with God. And this you can do with your mind in alignment with the recognition of your wholeness. So that is really something that you can learn to do. You will be surprised that it really is like thinking you are accustomed to on a physical level. But there's more. So in other words, if you open up, that in the light of your mind, in the light of the freedom of your mind, you can think spiritually, and that creates spiritually, leading to incredible joy and happiness for yourself. Like, it really works like that. And it works in the sense of you have no idea that you could do that with your mind. So that's, in other words, there's a creative tool that you have, but that you don't use so far, as you still think that you can only create on a physical level. It's like, if you don't have experience with this, you don't know it yet. But I'm inviting you to experiment with it. Like, in your meditation, start to think on a spiritual level. Try to think. Try to give everything to God, to your brother. Really like thinking. Or ask a question, that can work too. Like, you invite then a higher experience, or high experience of the realization. In that you co-create with God, as God. And that has, like, that establishes you, or that makes you recognize that is all given to me. But I never knew it. I literally can bring life into this. And this you can use everywhere, in every situation, once you are aware that you can think spiritually. So I didn't put this miracle principle in it, but it's one of the 50 principles of the miracle principles in the first chapter of Course in Miracles. Now this is really one that you can easily get to by just trying it and applying it. Like, just do it. Just when you're in meditation, use it to think spiritually. Think something good, you could say. Think something good. And you see that does something, and it increases the frequency of the inspiration, or it opens up something that takes you even closer to God. Like this. It's like it has an immediate effect, in the sense of a deeper experience of your oneness with God and your connectedness with your brother. So that's really something to work with. And you can do it right now. It's like this is given to you. Now you're going to learn to use your mind in a new way. Discovering that it's capable of all kinds of things, not just the three-dimensional, familiar repetition of old ideas. So no, there's so much more, and that is given to you. This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. Like, you're one with God. You can think with God. You can extend God's will. That's all power. Everything is given you. It is the abundance of omnipresence, of omnipotence. Literally everything is possible in God as an extension of the love of God. So that is all given in this, and that's the beauty of it. So in the, you can say, like the establishment that Master Teacher was talking about, we have been exercising this to at least work together with others in trying to make something, setting something up in a three-dimensional way, working, cooperating, doing things. But it will never lead to the directness of the totality of your being. So you have to know totality to know that that there's like your that truth is total. You have to understand totality. You have to see this world as undesirable. You have to see that it is insane that thinks this world. It is insane that thinks this world. Like, it is insanity that thinks these things, that there could be lack and limitation and all this. It is insanity that thinks these things. Now, if I recognize that in one thing, that is sufficient. I recognize, hey, this looks like an exception to the love of God. But hey, there is no exception to the love of God. So this cannot be real. See, there's another one. How do you react to what you see? This is another way of saying this same thing. Like, no, there is no exception to the love of God. So if I want to stay in true perception, I have to recognize that I cannot accept one exception because it would take me out of my true perception, and I have no intention of doing that. Since I'm here to be truly helpful, since I'm here not to linger in time and space, but to recognize what is actually going on. So that's the beauty of this discovery that we're doing. So the statement of God formulated, of given to us in John and Matthew, like, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased, cannot be contemplated enough, cannot be stayed with long enough to really let it enter into your consciousness that God is speaking to you directly, and asking for that and wanting to experience that in every fiber of your being is in fact the invitation. So there's a lot of practicality to what we share today, and it doesn't seem that way. If you hear like, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased, you might think like, oh, that's so beautiful, I love it. And of course that's part of the acceptance too, I don't deny that. But there's more. This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased is reflected by my brother. If I see him right, I can see that. If I see him right, we join together in that recognition. That's the miracle. That's happening right here. That's happening between you and me in this instant. And that is given to us. But only being aware of that. Only like, oh yeah, let's not forget, my brother here is of inestimable value because I am. Because God has said so. God is confirming that in His judgment about you. So that's really deep and very profound. It's like that is part of the spiritual acceptance that we're walking up against, or that we're getting into. This is how healing works. The acceptance of that, the staying with that, the not denying of that. So thank you so much for joining today in this, and I hope to see you in the next episode of How Healing Works. Thank you for everything. Thank you so much.